Hey you folks, quill18 here and welcome to another quickie tutorial for Sid Meier's Civilization 7 here on the official YouTube channel for Civilization 7. Do make sure you're subscribed over here. I am quill18. You can also watch me over at youtube.com/quill18 where I'm going to be playing a lot of Civilization 7, I can guarantee you. As I transition from turn 6 to turn 7 in this save, we have finished discovering Chiefdom, which is going to unlock a slew of new gameplay features. How can we use this to progress forward and survive our first 50 turns? Now that we finished Chiefdom, we can now, if we go to View Tree, we can see the Antiquity Civics. So this is common to all civilizations. All players will have this Civics tree to choose from, and we have just completed Chiefdom. But now that we've done that, we also have access to a secondary tree specific to our civilization. This will have 3 or maybe 4, I think, civics, depending on who you're playing as. And this is how you unlock a lot of your unique content. I might be tempted to go and research my Egypt-specific stuff, and it would certainly not be a bad thing. For example, the Arrival of Happy also gives me access to a social policy called Akhet, which is +1 food on navigable rivers. Oh my god, my capital is all navigable rivers! How perfect would that be? Alternatively, under the base antiquity civics themselves that everyone shares, there are 2 incredibly strong early options. Mysticism, that gives you access to a Pantheon, which is great, and Discipline, which gives you access to army commanders and does in fact grant you a free army commander. If you're playing a civilization that gives you a unique army commander, or you're playing a leader like Trung Trak, for example, that gives bonus levels to your army commander, it might be well worthwhile rushing Discipline, especially if you want to play more of a military-minded game. But I think for us, I do like mysticism. You know what? Let's do that so we can show off the religious stuff relatively soon. Now we get a prompt that we haven't seen before. Choose a government. So if we click on this, we will be presented with 3 options: Classical Republic, Despotism, and Oligarchy. The big difference in terms of governments in Civilization 7 is when a celebration occurs, you will get a bonus depending on your government. We're playing as Egypt. Building wonders kind of seems like our thing. So as much as I love Oligarchy and its food bonus, I'm going to go Classical Republic this time, just so that I have the option of sometimes doing the wonder boost, and the rest of the time, the culture boost is going to be very good as well. We've got another prompt here for social policies available. Okay, I can click on this to open this screen. We can also get to that screen through this button over here. View your social policies. This screen actually has 3 tabs: the overview, which shows us our current government, as well as your happiness, which is how we get a celebration, which does 2 things actually. First, it'll let us pick one of these 2 bonuses, which is really beautiful. And the other thing it will do is it will unlock an additional social policy slot. We start with 1 social policy slot, but every time we have a celebration, we're going to get another one added in. Maybe we should go Charismatic Leader, because this will give me more culture, which means I will get mysticism faster, which means I will get to choose my Pantheon that much quicker. You know what? That's appealing to me. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, we get a first narrative choice over here. As our leader, as Hatshepsut, we are getting this specific event, and we've got some choices, 2 of which will start a quest. So train a merchant, build 2 monuments, or we can just say conquest, giving us an extra warrior, a Medjay, our unique warrior. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick option 1. So now I have a quest, I have a journal entry over here to train a merchant. Oh, how interesting. Since we've got this journal open, I think now might be the time to look at this age progress screen. I am going to be doing a standalone video that is going to be focused entirely on age progress and age transition. So I want to keep this to a very basic overview, and we'll get down into the details in a future one. But in the Antiquity Age, there are 4 different ways you can progress your legacy: through culture, military, science, and economic. You do constantly progress all 4 of them simultaneously. You're not picking one exclusively versus the other. So for example, the economic path wants you to get resources. We haven't talked about resources yet, but it wants you to get a whole bunch of resources. Science wants you to get a bunch of codices. Military wants you to have lots and lots of settlements, possibly conquered ones. And culture wants you to build lots and lots of wonders. The benefit to progressing in any one of these are rewards that are going to stick with you for the rest of the game, and is very worthwhile doing. Now, if you want to, you can actually track every single one of these simultaneously on your user interface, which is incredibly convenient, as you can see over here. And you can just take note of what's the next step in each one of these legacy paths. But again, we'll go into more detail about this in a future video. Now, advancing a little bit, I have just unlocked the sailing technology. I can now build my first building in my city of VII. And again, I have been ignoring the granary on this particular playthrough because I didn't think I needed it for this city. But now we've got the fishing key here, and you can see we've got a +1 food versus +3 food. Now, if we mouse over the fishing key, and we get the tooltip for it, it says the fishing key has a base yield of 1 food. Why is it saying it's generating 3 food? Well, that's because I have 2 fishing boats. I have one here and I have one here, and it's doing the math for us, which is so wonderful, and showing us that, hey, if you build this building, it's going to give you 3 food right now. And of course, that's only going to get better as I build more fishing boats. So I'm going to click on that, and then it's going to ask me a location to build this. Now, the fishing key specifically, fishing key, my French is coming out there, has to be built on a water type tile. So I can't build it on the flat desert, for example. That's fine. These 2 are highlighted in green because these would be good locations. And there's currently nothing there. This is highlighted in yellow. It's a valid location, but it's like, hey, there's already something there. And that is true. Now, I can go and deploy this building on any 3 of these tiles. And probably it makes the most sense, honestly, to put it on one of these empty ones. But I wanted to demonstrate what happens if you put it on a tile that's already occupied. This is a rural district with fishing boats. If I go and put the fishing key here, there you go. It's going to tell me that it's going to replace it, convert it to an urban district. But that population doesn't go away. With VII, I'm being told, oh, grow your city again. So that population I displaced can now be deployed somewhere else. And you can see, because I finished sailing, all of these fishing boat locations are now offering 2 food. And once this fishing key finishes, these locations will all say they're going to give me 3 food. Hey, that's cool. So I had deployed a unit, a rural district over here with the fishing boats, but now I'm redeploying it over here, which is going to let me get the border expansion once again. And my city is exactly where we were before with the same amount of population, but I've moved them around. I've explored a little bit with both my scout and my medjay, and we have found a few neighbors. Now, these are not other AI civilizations right now. These are independent villages. To the east, we've got Meier. Now, these guys are being friendly and kind of neutral and chill, and I can tell that because their outline is just in this yellow. Now, we should talk about how we can actually interact with these independent villages. By clicking on Meier over here, I get a diplomacy screen with them. Now, I don't currently have enough influence here to do anything with them, but if I did, if I had 170 influence, I could befriend them. And I think that would be something very lovely to try to do. It's a couple turns later, I still don't have enough influence for Meier yet, but I have just finished the Mysticism Civic, which means I can now choose a Pantheon by clicking over here. We get to choose 1 Pantheon belief from the list below, and these are unique. Once one civilization has grabbed one of these, no one else can. So sometimes you'll see some of these will be grayed out if the AI has beaten you to mysticism. And there are so many good choices here, and it's impossible to give any sort of single general overall advice because depending on who you're playing as and what you need and what your goals are, you're going to prioritize different things. I will say though, fertility rights is always a perfectly good choice. On the other hand, hold on. God of the Sea, probably much better pick for us right now. +1 production on fishing boats in settlements with an altar. We do have to build an altar first, but then our fishing boats, of which there will be many in VII, will get +1 production for each one. Okay, God of the Sea, I'm sold. Let's do that. So this doesn't do anything immediately, but it will. So that is this button here, View Religion. And in the Age of Exploration, once we unlock an actual religion rather than the Pantheon, there'll be substantially more options here as well. All right, I was lucky enough to get an event from one of these discoveries to give me an extra 30 influence so I can get my 170 influence target a little bit faster than expected. So let's go and talk to Meier over here, and we've got enough to try to befriend them. So I'm going to click on that, and what it's going to do is activating something that will accrue a friendship over time and increase their level with us. We can see little timers down here for how long it will take to reach this. Oh, I have just met a new civilization. Let's see who it is. It's Xerxes. Now, he's now in the top right corner. We can click on him whenever we want and open up the diplomacy page for him. And here we can see the other big thing we can do with those influence points is spend it on relationship things like, say, opening borders or these endeavors. These are amazing. I love how endeavors work in Civilization 7. We're going to expand on this in a future video. But these are incredibly worthwhile to look into, and in fact, the AI is quite fond of offering endeavors to you as well. Okay, my capital has expanded again, and now it's going to be time for us to finally talk about resources. Rather than get another fishing boat, although you can see how much food these make because I now have sailing and I've built my fishing key here, I'm going to go and expand to this flat plains for the incense to get the 10% science boost resource of incense itself. So this plantation will produce 1 food, 1 production, 1 science, and 1 happy face. But in addition to that, it gives me a new resource. And we can click on this button here to see our resource allocation. If I had any unallocated resource, they'd show up on the left. And I can do that by unallocating this incense. Now, this incense isn't being used anywhere. And then over on the right, we can see all of our settlements as well as what resource slots they have available. The cities and towns both have resource slots, although cities have more of them. So we're going to put that in there, and that's going to give us a 10% science boost. Now, Wasset itself doesn't produce much science. This is not an empire-wide science bonus. This is a bonus specifically to what Wasset creates, which isn't very much right now. What we'd really need is a science building to create more raw science to then get multiplied here. But hey, it doesn't hurt, so we may as well go and do that. And that's the resource screen. The Great Work screen works very, very similarly to that. As we progress mostly down the technology tree, we will unlock Great Works. In the Antiquity Age, they are called codexes or codices, really. Let's go look for an example of that. If I open up my tech tree and look at, say, writing, which gives us the ability to build a library, which gives us science, which is pretty good. You'll also notice the library has 2 codex slots. So our palace had space for 1 codex. The library will have space for 2. And then if we look at the masteries, most of the masteries here, which are optional, you do not have to research masteries to get through the tech tree, but they give you some extra bonuses, which can be nice. So you're going to have to pick and choose whether or not you're pursuing them. For example, the writing mastery would give us +1 science on science building. It also gives us 1 codex, which we then slot in. I will tell you this, codexes give you 2 science each. So having codices and putting them in Great Work slots will give you tremendously more science. Having these codices is also how you progress down the science legacy path. I spotted our aggressive neutral village. Now, just because they're currently aggressive doesn't mean I can't still talk to them. If I had enough influence, I could still befriend them. And why might we want to go and fight these neutral villages? Well, in part is just to get rid of them from the map so that they stop generating more hostile units that might be coming to harass our cities. But we'll also get a bonus for clearing these, for dispersing them. We might get bonus culture, bonus science, bonus production, bonus gold. It depends on these little symbols over here that you can see next to these city-states, for example. Fast forwarding a few turns, I now have the discipline civic, and that gave me a free army commander. With my army commander, we can now see something very important. This army commander has this radius around it, its command radius, and any units that fight within that radius will give experience points to the army commander, and my units may themselves benefit from some sort of bonus. For example, I can attack with the Medjay currently, and it'll be a minor victory, and we're expected to do a certain amount of damage to this unit. However, if I use the army commander and give it this command, this coordinated attack, all infantry and cavalry units within the command radius, which is these white tiles over here, will then be attacking my target. They will have +2 combat strength for this attack. Now, unfortunately, this Medjay is out of range and will not benefit from this, but the one that's on the same tile as my army commander will, so it'll actually attack slightly stronger by virtue of being commanded by the army commander itself. There we go. We did 42 points of damage and only took 17 damage ourselves. And then most notably, right there, 2 XP. Our army commander just got 2 experience points, which are going to be used towards this promotion screen. You can see here, if we reach 15 experience points, then our army commander can get a promotion that we can put into one of these categories for substantial bonuses. If you're going to do any warfare, you really want to have 1, 2, maybe 3 highly leveled army commanders. It will make a world of difference. Okay, we're nearing the end of this video, but I want to showcase one of the things you can do with the army commander. I have filled this army commander with units. It is a much faster and convenient way to move a large number of units across the map so they're not constantly bumping into one another. We're going to go and unpack these units now. We're going to deploy the units adjacent to this accursed village. I'm going to soften this unit up by I'm going to do the focus fire. I know there's only 1 range unit here, but I think that's still the best move. Perfect. And then we've cleared this out. Let's move in. Let's disperse the independents, get 100 production into our capital where, hey, I am building a world wonder, the Hanging Gardens. Also got a promotion for the army commander. I really like going down assault first. Oh, and I've just been declared war on. Amina denounced me a little while ago. She was clearly not very happy with me. So she's declared a war with her green units who are crossing the river here to attack Men Nefer. We do have a little bit of money, so I'm going to quickly purchase a defensive slinger to be able to shoot at her units. And we're clearly going to have to redirect more of our troops over this way. Some drama never ends in Civilization. You can always expect something to be going on, and apparently that's the situation. I actually think I quite like the fact that my armies are over here. We can go and swoosh them around this way and probably attack Lalabella from the opposite direction, as long as we don't lose Men Nefer, which is probably going to be fine, especially if we can get a little bit more money, maybe get some walls, maybe buy some more units there. That's going to be okay. I do have a unit here that I can probably pull into Men Nefer as well, just to help out. But I'm not too concerned in this particular situation, especially since the water is going to slow down the speed at which you can send units across here. So hopefully I can go and reassemble my army by moving my commander here, vacuuming up all my units like that. And then we can get our army commander to move, say, over in this direction, and we'll see what we can do with that. But that is going to be the end of this particular little episode, how to deal with your first 50 or so turns of civilization. We're looking at the importance of growth in all of our cities, some of the interesting early technologies and social policies or civics that can be researched, how to work with social policies, how to build settlers and expand, a few things with wonders, rural districts, urban districts. Hopefully those have all stuck. Again, make sure you are subscribed here to the official Civilization 7 YouTube channel. There's going to be more tutorial videos like this coming, and you can always come visit me, youtube.com/quill18, for just more Civilization gameplay in general. I'm starting some deity games and seeing how we can manage that over on my channel. Coming out. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.